And hello, welcome to Open, one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you what's happening in and around our borough, across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center talking about how pet parents can establish healthy dental routines for their pets. I am listening. And I want to let you know, we'll talk about an organization that's providing services to help single teens and young mothers. We'll give you more details a little later on. And then we'll also learn how FreshDirect is spotlighting Black-owned vendor partners for Black History Month. Then afterwards, we'll speak to co-authors on how their book is giving individuals the tools to navigate through the challenging times to achieve a work-life balance. And then finally, we'll discuss how an app is reimagining urban mobility and building the transportation network of tomorrow. So we encourage you to stay tuned because all this and much more is heading away right now. We're officially open. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the show that really opens the Bronx and New York City straight to you. I'm Daren, Jaime. We also want to welcome our viewers today on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. We also invite you to stay connected to us on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, a lot has been going on through the course of this week, and we'll take you through it with our Bronx updates. We start off with transportation news as the MTA has announced it is cutting Wi-Fi on its local services, citing low usage. Well, the Wi-Fi was available on data for about 4,200 buses, which is around roughly 75% of the agency's fleet. Transit officials stated just about 33,000 people used the Wi-Fi buses during an average day. Now, MTA officials estimated the cut to Wi-Fi services on buses will save the agency $3.3 million every year. Transit officials in recent months have also turned their focus to adding cell phone service to all the city's subways as well as tunnels. And in other news, New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced that in his recent State of the City address that by the year 2030, any Lyft or Uber you hail will be an electric car. Now, the mayor's plan to switch to electric cars is simply a key step in curbing greenhouse gas emissions, staving off the worst outcomes of climate change. And one obstacle to the mayor's plan is that there's not yet a wheelchair accessible electric car available on the U.S. market, causing some controversy. Lyft and Uber both allowed users to hail accessible ride shares, although the app's offerings have come under fire for not delivering as promised. Of course, Bronx 8 will keep you updated on this story and those in our Bronx updates. We encourage you to stay connected to us. We're going to take a quick break, but we got more open when we return.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
Analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
And welcome back. Dental disease affects nearly 80% of adult dogs and 96% of senior dogs. with February being Pet Dental Health Month, it's about the perfect opportunity to talk about dental hygiene for our furry friends. And joining us now to share more details is veterinarian from Whimsies by Wellness, Dr. Danielle Bernal. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I want to talk, and I think this is my personal cleansing show, I guess. I have this thing about life balance and work-life balance. We talked about that earlier on the show, and then I got to talk about dogs because my Yorkie, he suffers from exactly this, and but I find now I'm a little bit more encouraged that a lot of dogs really go through the issue of this periodontal issue.
Absolutely. It's the number one health issue impacting our dogs. And for you, especially with a Yorkie, those smaller breeds and even the toy breeds are the highest rate of having that dental concern because their mouth has the same number of teeth, but just in a much smaller space. So it's a much more of an uphill battle to keep their teeth clean. But the good news is that there's lots that we can do to help them out.
Yeah, well, talk to me about this because when we talk about taking care of our dog's health, we know about washing, we know about grooming. How often should a dog have their teeth cleaned?
Well, this one's really easy. It's the exact same as us, but they just need to have it once a day. The importance is that they have to every single day have some form of cleaning. So if you're doing it right now, maybe once every Sunday or twice a week, that's actually not good enough. It has to be every single day.
And so with that being every single day, obviously a lot goes into that, but or does a lot go into that? Because, when you think about the fact that some people say every day, but what goes into that? Talk to us.
Well, this is an easy one in that within 24 hours, the bacteria, which is like a biofilm, accumulates on a dog's teeth the same way as it does our own. Now, if we don't brush that off with either a toothbrush or an edible dental chew, that's going to keep building up. And then it becomes almost like concrete that sticks to the teeth. And that's when a dog's going to need a professional clean. So by doing it every single day, you're wiping off that plaque, you're reducing its buildup, and then that goes a long way to keeping their teeth clean.
And so for dogs themselves, right, we have the opportunity to do a couple things. We can get them treats, you can give them, these edible things that you talked about. Which ones are really the best ones to give to our dogs?
Well, I recommend a couple things. The first one is once a year, you need to get to your dog's dentist, which is the veterinarian. They'll be able to have a professional look and see what the state of that dog's teeth is. But just like you or me again, we don't go to the dentist once a year and go, right, we are done, let's go. We know we have to do that at home care. Now, there's two options here. The first one is actually picking up a toothbrush with some special doggy toothpaste and cleaning your dog's teeth. Now, for most pet parents, in fact, 98% of pet parents, they find that something too stressful or something that their dog just does not want to do. So for a great alternative, this is where I really recommend a scientifically proven dental chew. These are fantastic because I like to think about them as an edible toothbrush. With ridges and grooves, they work like the bristles. And then as the dog chews, it has that same action of rubbing up against the teeth, removing that plaque and tartar, and then working the exact same way like a toothbrush would. Now, the other great thing here is whilst there's a lot of concern about adding in a toothbrush, there's usually not much concern about adding in an extra treat to a dog's daily routine. So it's just a case of swapping out a meaty treat or a baked biscuit and giving them a dental treat instead. And the best part is it's going to really go a long way to keep their teeth nice and clean.
Well, Dr. Danielle, let me think about my Yorkie for a minute. He fights and fights and fights when it comes to really trying to get their teeth clean. And some dogs actually do that. Any advice for us who got to deal with the struggling, fighting pets?
Well, the hard one here is when you're trying to do something they don't want to do, it's most definitely an uphill battle. So in these cases, there's lots you can do. You can start out maybe with a finger brush, which is like a thimble that goes over your finger, and you can gently massage that up towards their mouth, building it up to finally get onto their teeth. But the other one then is once they're acceptable of that, you can move to the toothbrush. But if you've got a very strong-willed dog who's just like, no way is this going to happen, that's when I think that edible chew is just such an easy alternative. Now, even for the fussiest dogs, you know, most of these shapes are hollow. You can put a nice slather of peanut butter in there or something that your dog really loves. And that also helps make it even more enjoyable for them so that then they're happily chewing away, unbeknownst to them, cleaning their teeth at the same time.
And for yourself, I mean, you see a lot of people come through your door. Talk about the younger generation, because are they really particular in this area? How are they when it comes to maintaining their dog and caring for them in this area?
Yeah, so there's some good insights here in that, well, firstly, those next gens and millennials are rapidly becoming the majority of pet parents here in the US. And when it comes to caring for their dog, they see dental health as almost as important and a top concern similar to their own dental health. So that's great. The education and awareness is there. But when it comes to recognizing the signs of dental disease, you know, not many of them can really list what actually dental disease is. And an even smaller amount is brushing every single day. Now, they're very keen and conscientious to get after it and do some extra at-home care, so they are really supportive of those dental chews. But what gives me a lot of hope is that with such a large group really recognizing dental health and the importance to care for their dog's teeth, is that hopefully over time, as those pet parents continue to grow, we'll be able to reduce that incidence of over 80% of adult dogs suffering from dental disease. So I think it's a really good thing, and it's going to make sure that veterinarians see less dogs coming in with such severe dental concerns.
Everybody loves their dog. Everybody loves their, you know, I think everybody loves their dog, but then we see these high numbers. Is there any particular reason why we do see these high numbers?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. One, most pet parents, you mentioned it before, we think about their coat, we think about their stools, we think about their body condition. Teeth is one of those things that in most cases you won't see, especially those hard to reach places. So if we're not seeing it, you know, we'll only maybe hear about it from our veterinarian that once a year. So it's not always top of mind, unless, of course, you've got one of those doggy breath kisses that instantly gives you that clue that there might be something going on. I think the other thing is that we're changing how we care for our pets. You know, historically, and I think back to my parents and their parents, you know, it was a dog who lived outside. That dog now has come inside, into the bedroom, and now into the bed. So their involvement in our family has also significantly changed. So we're seeing with that change that pet parents want to do more. They're really focused on their dog's total health and well-being. And part of that extra care includes looking after their teeth. So I think it's now having that extra focus, and then we'll be able to help reduce the incidence.
Yeah. And so for people who need more information, are there places they can go to really find out what they can do best here?
Absolutely. My first tip is go to whimsies.com. That's where you'll be able to see all the different dental chews that we have available. Now, these will be every size from your Chihuahua right through to your Irish Wolfhound. So we've got one for every dog. We've also got them in all different shapes because, hey, it's a treat and it should be fun. The other one I recommend is go to your local pet specialty store or key retailer. They'll also have the Whimsies products available. And that's when you can just buy a bag or even a single product today, try it out with your dog, and know that you are doing the right thing to really help them have a healthy teeth and mouth. And of course, that is so essential for their total well-being. So, you know, it's an A+ badge of honor for those pet parents because you always want to do the very best for your pet. And this is just an extra one part of it to now consider.
And how often should they be coming to your office?
Well, lots of them. You know, we saw alone that this is one of the key issues that veterinarians are seeing every single day. You know, with such a key importance and such a high incidence, nearly most pets coming in. And I think the other thing is that it's good to see that, you know, pet parents are coming in for that clean and scale. But a concerning thing is that dogs with dental disease, only 14% of the entire population are actually getting those clean and scales. So whilst we're seeing a lot, we really could see a whole lot more. So let's get onto that at-home care, and then that way there'll be hopefully less coming through my door.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much, Dr. Bernal, for being with us, and certainly some great information that you passed on. Good to have you sharing with us, and certainly glad to have you.
Thank you very, very much.
All right. Well, we want our viewers to know now, if you want more information, don't hesitate to visit the website at whimsies.com and then follow them on social media at Wellness Pet Food. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We've got more show coming up right after this.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about poor Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
And welcome back to the show. Young Lives is an organization that is helping kids find their purpose by following Christ, caring for them regardless of their response, and changing their lives in the process. They provide some community resources, advocacy, mentoring, and early intervention for children. We are pleased to have sharing more information, the Bronx coordinator at Young Lives Bronx, Miss Octavia Jones. And Octavia, glad to have you sharing with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing good. And want to have an opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the great work that you're doing over there at Young Lives. And really, it's about impacting young people's lives and the mentoring, the gathering. But give us a little bit about your organization.
Absolutely. So Young Lives is a faith-based organization. Our overall mission is to introduce teenage mothers to Jesus and help them grow in their faith. And we do that by going where they are. So if they're at school, if they're at the doctor's office, the WIC office, our mentors and volunteers go alongside them and walk with them through their parenting journey. I'm the program coordinator, so it's my responsibility to build teams of people and connect with different churches and community-based organizations that will be able to assist moms. So we are a liaison for moms and babies to do the work that is necessary for them to be well-rounded in their parenting journey, regardless of their age. And so that's what we're here for.
Octavia, we hear a lot about early intervention, and for some people, they really don't know what that's all about. I know that your work deals with a lot of those persons that provide these kind of services, but for those who may not be so familiar with early intervention, please walk us through it.
Absolutely. So we partner with different community-based organizations that provide early intervention for a child who may have some, maybe some delays. So maybe there's speech delays or other things that you notice about your child. And so many times teen moms may not necessarily know things to look out for. And so we connect them with people who provide early intervention service, provided their child is one that may need assistance in that area.
And for yourself, what's it been like working with these young people, really giving them the assistance that they need, given the fact that this has been like partly your life, right? This is what I've experienced, and now I have the opportunity to help somebody else walk through what I walked through.
That's right. It is such a joy, to be honest with you, to learn the heart and be around the moms, because they are regular teenagers. They just have huge responsibilities attached to them. When I think about a teen mom, I think about a baby, a teenager, and adult all in the same body, because oftentimes they might not necessarily have been properly parented.
They are parenting right now, and they will need guidance for the future. And so looking at them as a whole person and understanding that even though they are doing adult responsibilities, that they're still kids. And so we provide opportunities for them to have fun, which brings me to our camp experience, right? Every summer, we take teen mom and her baby away to summer camp for 4 days and 4 nights and 5 days to give them an opportunity to be a kid again. And we need a bunch of adults to help us do these things. And so if we had an opportunity to train adults and get people to lock in with us to take moms and babies to camp, that is what I am here for.
And for yourself, what's it been like being that you've had the opportunity to pour into the lives of others, of these young women, and really navigate them through a place where you've been? What's the personal experience been like for you?
Just joy, right? To be able to have a conversation with a mom about taking her daughter to Chuck E. Cheese. And then I go in my camera roll and I'm finding pictures of me and my daughter at Chuck E. Cheese when she was 2 years old. It's full circle for me, right? Because it allows me to show moms that there is hope in a future for them. And it gives me an opportunity to look back. When you're in the thick of it, sometimes you can't really see your way out of it. Parenting and being in this journey, but they give me an opportunity to look back on my life and just be so grateful.
For yourself, talk to us about what this has been like pretty much in the lives of those young people that you're dealing with, because it's not just about yourself, but it's about the young people that you're impacting. Having this a much needed resource, because you talked about being a teen parent yourself. Did you have these resources at your disposal?
I didn't have these resources at my disposal. And one thing that I can say that they love is the community aspect of it, that they can look to the left and to the right of them and see other people like them. Oftentimes I hear moms say, like, I don't really have any friends, or, I just go to school and I do what I have to do and then I leave because I got to go home and take care of my baby. Those things are very much true. But now they're connected to YoungLives and they have an opportunity to gather together and play games together and hang out together and do things with their babies together. Moms are hanging out with one another outside of our YoungLives community because they're friends now. And so I had friends, but I had friends that were not parents. And so this is a beautiful opportunity for them to just feel like a kid.
Yeah. And childcare is also a huge issue, right? When we talk about our young mothers and young families having the opportunity to have childcare, not always available, or if it is available, it's at a ridiculous cost. But you guys are also able to help meet that need and really deal with standing in the gap.
Absolutely. So every event that we do for YoungLives, we provide child care. So moms would bring their babies with them to our events, and we have child care teams that come and walk alongside the mom. So if we're doing an activity, which is called Club, our Party with a Purpose, and we invite moms to come out, they come with their babies. We eat lunch together. We eat dinner together, depending on the time of day that we host Club. And then when we are done eating, babies go with our childcare team. My daughter is 15 years old, and she has been volunteering to do childcare since I've been on staff here at YoungLives. And so what would it be like for more people who are interested in doing childcare and want to serve to join our team? We would really appreciate that.
Well, Octavia, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. And we'll continue to keep people plugged into YoungLives. And thanks for all that you do.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Octavia, thank you. And for more information, we want to let you know that you can visit the website, ylnyc.org. Then follow them on Instagram at Young Life Bronx Region. We encourage you don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
ex-drug dealer.
And I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill?
No.
You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kids should know.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
Let's start time for dinner.
Oh, it's really big.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
And welcome back. FreshDirect has always been about delivering highest quality fresh food. And this month, FreshDirect is actually showcasing its Black-owned vendor partners and their delicious products front and center on the online grocer's website, and then also honoring the flavors and ingredients indigenous to various regions in Africa. Joining us now, we're pleased to have the Vice President of Public Affairs at FreshDirect, Larry Scott Blackmon. And Larry, good to have you back, brother. And it's always an exciting time during this time of year, Black History Month, of course, African American History Month, how some people define it. But for you at FreshDirect, an opportunity to really put a special showcase together.
Absolutely. You know, as you know, the benefit of Black History Month for not just people of color, but for the consumer is to showcase the benefits, the pride, the joy, the essence, the soul, the love that goes into many of these Black-owned products. And so we're proud at FreshDirect to be a majority minority company anyway, right? So we have thousands of associates who can relate to some of these products, and the ethnic food category is something that's very special to FreshDirect and to all of our sister brands.
For you, obviously an opportunity to, as you said, showcase some art, you know, some of the local talent that we have and some talent. Talk about some of the people and some of the work that is out there with FreshDirect and some of the things you'll be highlighting this month.
Well, let me just start by talking about one that's near and dear to me, because I proudly had a role in working it and bringing it into FreshDirect. You know, we had an employee who worked here who said, hey, you know, you have to try this particular wine. And the name of the wine was called the McBride Sisters, right? It was called Black Girl Magic. And so what better way, right, to celebrate Black History Month than by showcasing some Black girl magic? And whether it's, you know, Zach and Zoe's Sweet Bee Farm or some of the other Hillside Harvest, right, which is a hot sauce that's MWBE owned. We have, you know, well over 70 or so MWBE owned brands, well over a dozen or more Black owned brands that we will be showcasing. And those are just a few of my personal favorites.
Yeah. And when we talk about Black owned brands, sometimes, let's just be honest, they're not always on the front of the shelf. It's hard to find, and sometimes not even really well highlighted. For you at FreshDirect, I know you've been very intentional about doing that. Talk to me about the importance of that and knowing that you got such great diversity, you know, and it extending all the way out to Africa.
Absolutely. You know, product placement is extremely important in the grocery space. You walk into your local grocer and you want to find that product that you're looking for. And sometimes companies really do all that they can to have perfect product placement. Well, the joy and the beauty of an online grocer is that we can give product placement on that homepage at any particular time. And we do that, not just during Black History Month, right? You know, and even if you take the time to look through and click through the site, you know, think about it, right? If you're searching for a pearl, you have to search through dozens of oysters to get that pearl. But when you get that pearl, you're satisfied and you're happy. We have many pearls at FreshDirect. And I can tell you, having been at the company for, wow, almost 10 years, haven't aged a bit, Daren. We've been looking alike now for several years. But I can tell you that there's some products that, that I've just been introduced to that are Black-owned, that are phenomenal. The last thing I'll say to you is this, that we partnered with the New York Women's Chamber of Commerce on an effort to grow the number of MWBE and Black-owned brands that large-scale grocers do business with, because we are often introduced to phenomenal products, but sometimes those entrepreneurs, right, those geniuses that really create these products, they need a little bit of assistance in navigating, okay, how do we protect my product? How do we properly package that cookie so that it's not damaged when the customer received it? How do we make sure our labeling stands up, right? So those are the things that really matter as well. During Black History Month, we've adopted at least 5 MWBE entities that we are helping and grooming out of that. And that is really where it's at, right? It's not much to just sell a fish, but we need to also show many of these entrepreneurs how to fish. And that is what we're doing as a responsible community partner.
One of the things I found out about, those in African-American entrepreneurship, and those persons who you're amongst those you're spotlighting, is that there's such this great rich history when it comes to coffee. And I know for yourself in FreshDirect, you guys are highlighting coffee as well. And talk to us about, the coffee and the African ancestry.
Oh man, listen, I don't, as a coffee connoisseur who's been introduced to some great brands, I don't think I necessarily even need to go down that road, right? Coffee is an essential item. Coffee is an essential item, particularly in the African-American community. We're proud to spotlight and highlight some of our coffee entrepreneurs. We have some great brands in and of ourselves. For me, personally, we have a company that we work with that's local, that's based here. We have our Just FreshDirect house blend. We have several other blends that, again, I personally partake in. And we also even have our new sister company. We have our Nature's Promise blend, right? So we have a number of different coffees, but that specifically highlight the partnership with our African-American and African heritage.
Yeah. So it's throughout the course of the month. Talk about how people can get connected. What can they do?
We invite you to visit freshdirect.com. We are launching our page that celebrates Black History Month. We have so much insight and so much pride there. You can visit us on our various social media channels. We are extraordinarily active there. We have recipes. We have it all for you to partake in. And we encourage you to celebrate the beauty and the joy of this rich month and what it has to offer from a food sphere, right? Food that traveled the Middle Passage from Africa to the United States, and that has benefited so many. This is the month of love as it relates to food that is rich with culture and heritage, and every month is, but we're extraordinarily proud to be a partner with you for Black History Month.
Listen, a lot going on. Larry, thanks so much for being with us. And certainly this month, I know as every month, but this month in particular, I know a little bit more intense and a lot more work going on. So thanks so much for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And always thank you for being there with us. Thank you.
All righty. Well, listen, I want to let you know now, if you want more, you can find out more information. Go ahead to the website at FreshDirect.com, and then you can find out more. And we'll have more open, I should say, coming up right after this.
Aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is me? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid? Let's do it. First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Welcome back. The 5 L's, The Gift of a Balanced Life, is a book that's providing tools for the work-life balance and also your mental wellness to thousands of individuals on a global basis. Now, joining us are the co-author of the 5 L's, The Gift of a Balanced Life, and the co-founders of Unparalleled Performance, Michael Mannix and Sal LaGreca. And as I said before the segment even started, looking forward to having this time with Sharon, because this is an area that I just fail in, but I'm glad I got you guys. Good to have you.
So excited to be here. We failed too. That's why we wrote the book.
Well, yeah, well, talk about that for a minute, because honestly, I think, I joke about it, but there's so many people that really fall into the same category. So I'm saying I'm not by myself here, but give us about why is there such a problem between the work and the life balance?
Daren, we hear that all the time. Because at the end of the day, it's the way people define success. I mean, if you look at the media, right? It's if I have more than you, I'm more successful than you. If I have a better title than you, if I have a nicer car, I have a nicer house, it push. And unfortunately, we all fall into that trap. And, this constant drive to work, do more, be better. And what you lose sight of is, number one, your self-love, which is the first L, and the people that you're doing it for, right? So going back to that love and making sure that you have life balance is critical. And what we've seen, unfortunately, both Sal and I saw, because we only had one L, and both of us only had labor, and it put me in the hospital, and it actually devastated Sal's life. Absolutely.
And Sal, talk to me about it from your perspective, because we talk about 5 L's. Let's go through what these 5 L's actually are.
Yeah. All right. Let me give you a quick overview on the 5 L's. It's something I came up with over 30 years ago, and it's been in my head for that long until I met Mike about 3 years ago, who said, you got to write a book.
It's my fault.
Yeah. And I said, I'm not going to write a book. I'll read a book. I'm not going to write the book. And then 3 years later, we have the book. But here's an overview of the 5 L's. The first one is love, because without it, all else fails. And it's not just relationship love. It's really self-love. You need to have that. So that's the first L. The second L is laughter. You got to take yourself, you can't take yourself too seriously, right? Because you're going to make mistakes in life. So you have love and you have laughter, and that's okay. The third is labor. As humans, we're wired to produce. So if you're going to do something, do it with passion and purpose. So we have love, laughter, labor. The fourth L is leisure. You got to know when to disconnect and recharge your batteries. You got to find your me time, as we call it, whatever that might be. So we have love, laughter, labor, leisure. And the fifth L, and for so many people is the most difficult of the 5 L's, is leave.
Yeah.
Know when to go. Know when it's over. Know when to pivot, adjust your sails. And that could be for anything. That could be a relationship. It could be a job. Or for many people, it's a decision that you're living with for so long, and you need to let that go.
Yeah.
So that's the 5 L's. Alone, each L has purpose. But if you have them together in a balanced fashion, they have power. And if you have the 5 L's in a balanced fashion, you can pretty much get through just about anything in life.
So, Sal, we talked about how it was for you, but talk to me about the impact of not having this had on your life.
Yeah, definitely, Daren. For me, I had only labor at one time, work. I was the vice chairman of a very large company, running around the world maybe 60% of my time. Before I knew it, my marriage failed, and I became an absentee dad, and it took me a really long time to get that back, get my son's relationship back. And I had to use all 5 L's to get that, to make that happen. So again, I'm the creator of it, but I failed. And, it's okay to recognize that as long as you bring it back together.
I mean, well, most people who have inventions and things, they really start off from a place of failure, and the key is that you're able to, to turn it around. Mike, talk to me. I mean, writing this book, really putting it out there. What's
Yeah.
been the response that you've heard from people when they actually see this, hear this, and can really have some tangible action items they can make to turn their life around?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question, by the way, and I'm going to answer it in a couple of different ways. First, when folks actually do read the book, they'll see that it's not just, fluff or hype, because people hear, 5 L's, love, laughter, labor, leisure, leave. Oh, that's fluffy. No, actually, what we did in the book is we took our 70 plus years of experience where we failed, right? And then we backed it up with interviews. So we interviewed a lot of very successful people and asked them how the L's helped them go through a different part of their life, everywhere from sports personalities to high-level CEOs, people from all different backgrounds. But what's also important, I'm the data geek. So I also teach leadership at NYU. So I was like, we really have to give people tools. This can't be fluff and hype. We want to give people something they can actually use. So what we've been doing is beyond the book for the last 2.5, almost 3 years now. Sal and I have been teaching this, not only nationwide, but also globally. And, I have to tell you, to answer your question, we've actually had people come up to us after one of our trainings, after one of our seminars, keynote speeches, or after reading the book in tears, literally in tears, and saying, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah,
I needed this. And, I think that's what our goal is. We all need something to help us get through the day to day. And if something can help you deal with all that stress that we're all under on a consistent basis, I mean, that's what it really means for us, because we're really just trying to make a difference and make people's lives better.
Yeah. And, having these conversations where people can be able to talk about this, right? Read the book, talk about it, is quite helpful. Being able to turn the corner, really turn your life around. That's the end goal. I'll ask you, and I'll ask Sal, like, how long did it take you to realize, hey, you know what? I don't have this thing in check. I got to do something about it.
Yeah. For me personally, way too long. I'm going to be totally candid with you and totally honest with everyone who's watching or listening. So Daren, I didn't grow up with money by any stretch of the imagination. Neither Sal or I did. We've worked our tails off for everything we have today. And I did almost to the detriment of my health, almost to death, because I wanted what we talked about. Why are people pushing yourself so hard? And I would do this for years and years, traveling around the globe, all this kind of stuff with the company I was with. I was an executive board member, and my father would grab me from time to time. Sometimes he had to kind of grab me physically to stop me, because he saw me driving myself in the ground, and be like, Mike, you're missing the point. The true measure of success is about the amount of lives you touch and leave for the better. And unfortunately, I didn't learn that until I actually lost my father after he had a 2-year battle with cancer. And I saw the incredible turnout, hundreds and hundreds of people every day around the block, people he hadn't seen in almost 40 years. The majority of them was his students, because he was also an adjunct professor teaching paramedics, how to save people's lives. And each one of them came up to me one at a time and said, your dad changed my life. And that was kind of my aha moment. And I want to say I was in my 40s at the time. And that's when I finally started getting my act together, getting my life together, and putting the right priorities. And I was actually starting to learn the L's even before I met him. So when he told me about the L's for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, you've got to get this out to the world.
You got to write a book.
You got to write a book.
Got to write a book. Got to get the L's out. So how did you guys actually meet?
Yeah, it's a funny question, actually. I was having a few people over at my house on a Saturday night, and I didn't know Mike at the time. Mike's wife knew my partner, and it was a beautiful Saturday night, and having a couple of beverages, adult beverages, if you will. And my phone rings, and it's somebody who worked for me who would never call me on a Saturday night. So I knew something must have been up. So I excused myself, went inside, took the call, and it happened to be somebody who was calling me to tell me that he was resigning. He was quitting the job. And I said, listen, I can't talk to you right now, Max. I got a bunch of people here. Tomorrow, Sunday, I'll give you all day Sunday. Let's talk this through. So I come back out to join the crowd. And again, I didn't know Mike at the time. And Debbie, my partner, says, what's wrong? You look terrible. I said, well, Max just resigned. And she goes, well, that's your last L. Leave. Yeah, thank you, Captain Obvious. So he then goes, well, what is this last L thing? So as I just mentioned to you, the 5 L's overview, I did that to Mike, and this guy's jumping up and down.
Literally.
I didn't know that
I
he
was
was
literally
a
jumping up and down.
professor of leadership at NYU. So he studies this stuff. I didn't know that.
Total geek.
So that's when he said, "You're going to write a book." And I said, "Swear to God, I'm not going to write a book. I'll read the book. I'm not going to write a book." About 3 days later, he shows up at my house about 7:30 at night because he was working at another job. And he's got these whiteboards and stuff. He goes, "You're going to write the book, right?" I said, "Come on in, sit down."
I stalked him a little bit, Daren.
And then I realized he's got the support, and that's in the book. All of everything we talk about, the tools and the science basis is Mike. And I said, "You know what? Why don't you just co-author this thing with me? Because I don't know that deep, the science background." And that's how it started.
Yeah. And we launched the company off of that. We actually had the company going even before the book came out. The book just came out in October, and we've been so excited because of all the folks that we've been teaching over the last 2.5 years. We actually hit #1 on Amazon top hot new bestseller list. Same thing with Ingram Spark, because of all the folks that were like, "When is your book coming out, guys? You've been talking about it." So it finally came out.
Right. Well, listen, before we go, I need to talk about the services, because you guys also, in addition to the book, you also provide services to people. I think that's important to let people know too, that there are some services that are available. So let the people know exactly, our viewers know what services are available and how can you help?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
jump on that.
Okay, absolutely. Well, thank you for asking. So right out of the gates, we do customized trainings for each one of our clients, right? So every vertical you can think of, we help every different type of organization because everybody needs this, right? And everywhere from even high schools all the way up through, every different vertical that's out there. So we do customized wellness trainings. We do keynote speeches. We do seminars. And, what's important is for people to hear that they're actually going to walk away with real tools. That's the differentiator. We're going to give you something you can actually use. And it's not something you're just going to walk out of a training and go, "Oh God, I feel so great today." And then a week later, you're like, "What did I learn?" They're actually going to have something. So that I think is important. And the book is actually based on the trainings that we do. So it's just another tool that we use to help folks.
Yeah. So for people who want to get their hands on the book, how do they go about doing that?
So we're pretty much all over the place now, but you can go to Amazon, right? Look up the 5 L's. It'll pop right up. We're also on Barnes & Noble. We're in a number of different stores and outlets now, more than we even know about because our publisher just keeps shooting it out. And before we know it, oh, hey, there's the book. So the easiest way probably for most folks is on Amazon. And you can also, Barnes & Noble, you can get the hardcover, the soft cover, and also it's on Kindle. A lot of folks have been asking us to do an audio book, so that's probably going to be in the works shortly because a lot of folks like to listen to it, when they're driving or doing something else.
Darren, one thing I wanted to mention to you, I don't know if you were told, but I was actually born in the Bronx. And my father, and I dedicate the book to my dad and my mom, my dad mostly because he had a butcher shop in the Bronx for 45 years, which I worked at for very little pay, of course. But yeah, it's in my heart. So shout out to everybody there.
Well, we're glad to have you, and congratulations. Great story. Look forward to being able to meet you guys hopefully in person, and keep up the great work because obviously a lot of people are struggling in this area and, they need some assistance. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was wonderful. Thank you.
All righty. Well, I want to let you know if you want more information, visit the website at unparalleledperformance.com. Then also visit them on Facebook at Unparalleled, I should say, Performance. We encourage you don't go anywhere. We got more opening coming up right after this.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
qué color? Perfecto, amigo.
Gracias. Thank you.
What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
And welcome back to the show. Curb is the leading ride-hailing app for licensed taxis and for hire rides. Recently, they've announced a partnership with American Express to give back to New York City taxi drivers who they view as small business. And joining us now is the Vice President, Head of Mobile at Curb, Jason Gross. And Jason, glad to have you here.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And so talk to me about this here, because as we talk about Curb and the rise of what we call your industry, you're filling a much needed gap, and at the same time, you're bringing others along with you.
Yeah, it's been an exciting journey. I mean, our company was founded really over 30 years ago to help taxi drivers with the technology and the software they needed to just do their job, whether that was hiring a meter, processing a credit card in the backseat of a cab. And for us, we've always been on the mission to bring the best experience to the riding public. So with the rise of the Ubers and Lyfts of the world, people got used to upfront pricing. They originally got used to really, really low fares, right? Unreasonably low fares. And the taxi drivers, our cohort, suffered from that business. And I think over the last few years, as the TLC allowed us to introduce upfront pricing for a taxi, so you know the price of the ride before you book the ride, that's allowed us to demonstrate to the riding public that taxis are actually many times cheaper than Uber Lyft, especially when it's raining or during surge, but even throughout the day. And that's really resulted in a lot of people coming back to taxi, using the app to do so, and increased earning opportunities for not only taxi drivers, but also those community car services up there in the Bronx and other for hire vehicles. And it's really been a wonderful thing. The partnership with American Express is just an expression of our gratitude to the hardworking taxi drivers. And we've partnered our program where we're giving $500 to each of 10 outstanding drivers at the end of each month.
That's great. And so for you, I want to go back on something that you mentioned before. How big was upfront costs? When we talk about the fact that Uber, Lyft, they major this, you know what you're getting up front. And for a while, couldn't do that as a taxi. How big was that?
I mean, it was really huge, right? I think when Uber and Lyft started out, they were subsidizing the ride. So, whether it was upfront pricing or it was the meter, they were going to be half the price of a taxi. And so they stole a lot of business from the taxi drivers, and a whole generation of young New Yorkers, came of age not thinking about a taxi as a way to get around town. They thought first about Uber and Lyft. And as their prices slowly went up, and during the pandemic, they really took off, people were looking for an alternative. And what was really good timing was the Taxi Limousine Commission had introduced what they call this flex fare program, which allows a taxi to calculate a price in advance as long as someone's booking that through the app and they've agreed to that price. And we've seen, over a 10x increase in use of the app simply after introducing that upfront pricing, and people getting used to the fact that it's a real viable alternative and much more cost effective quite a bit of the time.
So as you look right now at the industry, how do you see things playing out? I mean, you got Uber, you got Lyft, Curb, here we are. Talk to me about the industry as you see it.
Sure. I mean, I think the COVID pandemic certainly, took a lot of people off the street. And it's not just the people who needed a ride, but the drivers, they're concerned about their own safety. The fleet owners didn't have enough drivers to drive the vehicles, so they took the vehicles off the road. So it's been a real process in recovery because, again, the vehicles need to be re-inspected. They need to find drivers. They need to fill up the shifts. And it's been almost a straight line up since about the middle of last year of drivers coming back to taxi. We see a lot of drivers who had been driving for Uber and Lyft coming back to taxi, or community car services that also drive for Uber, Lyft, driving with Curb, because the earning opportunities are great. We really let the drivers keep a lot more of their money than on a lot of these, rideshare rides. And they come to appreciate that. And they see us as a driver first partner to the industry. and they respond to that. And when the drivers respond to that, the customers respond to that attitude from the drivers. So it's really been a virtuous circle of helping the community at large and the driver community specifically, thrive in the last year and a half.
When you look at the products that you've worked with and put out there, what would you consider some of the best ones that have really assisted to help where we are today?
I think, first and foremost, the upfront pricing, right? Just being able to use an app, see a cab on its way to you, being able to talk to the driver while they're en route, preset your tip, have everything billed to your credit card at the end of the ride, and just hop out. One flavor of that is when people who are using the Curb app just hail a cab on the street, they can use their app account to pay for the ride. And so again, when the ride's over, you just hop right out. The driver's appreciative because our tips are generally higher than with the rideshare apps, and they can get about their day and go on to their next fare. So just that little removing of friction at the end of a taxi ride, I try to explain to people who aren't New Yorkers why saving 30 seconds or a minute is important. But as a New Yorker, every 30 seconds or a minute seems to be an eternity. So even that little thing, that little convenience has been a real hit with drivers and passengers alike.
Yeah. I was looking at some stats that you had out there, and one thing that really stuck out for me was like 10 million trips per month.
Yeah, I mean, this is, our platform both does the hailing aspect. It allows people to pay in the cab. So it's really powering a lot of rides, not just in New York, but in Chicago and Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., all around the country, especially in those urban areas where taxis have really always been a part of the fabric of transportation. And the drivers have been really a part of the fabric of the community. I mean, I think the pandemic really showed how drivers shined, and we use the Curb platform to connect essential workers and hospital workers with rides when there are really no other forms of transportation. And that wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for the drivers being willing to work during those tough times and to take people where they needed to go.
Yeah. So where do you go from here?
We continue to grow, not just within New York. As I mentioned, we've opened up the platform to not just taxi drivers, but to livery and community car service drivers and black car drivers, because really, as many taxis as there are on the road, there are other fully licensed, professional drivers who are looking for work, and we have more passengers that need rides. So expanding into those sort of, still full-time professional drivers within New York and other markets is key. And then we're always looking for partnerships to get into the healthcare space to help do staff and patient transportation at some of the local hospitals, building again off of some of the partnerships we formed during the pandemic. And from our standpoint, it's really all about providing opportunities to drivers to earn a living.
Yeah. Well, Jason, got to leave it there. But for people who want more information, let's talk about how they can get connected with you.
Sure. So you can go to the App Store or the Play Store and download the Curb app. If you're a driver, it's simply downloading the Curb driver app. And you can always visit us on our website at www.gocurb.com.
All righty. Jason Groves, got to leave it there. But thank you so much for being with us, and continued success, and keep up the great work.
Thank you for having us.
All righty. Well, I wanted to let you know if you want more information, please, again, don't hesitate to visit the website. As Jason has said, gocurb.com. Then follow them on social media at GoCurb. Well, we come to the end of our show today. We want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, don't forget you can catch the recablecast on Bronx, that's channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that's channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. And of course, if you want a brand new episode of Open, come back on Friday. My girl, Rena Valentine, brings you the best in arts and entertainment. Until then, I am Daren Jaime saying until next time we meet, take care, God bless, and most of all, keep this channel wide open.